Welcome to the Pepper Fox Podcast, where we believe that nothing will empower individuals and strengthen humanity more than theater and film. Throughout this podcast, we will be sharing our favorite tips for actors, headshot expertise, and ways we live a creative lifestyle. Tune in for interviews with actors living their dreams and creatives dedicated to enriching their own communities. I'm your host, Bree Welch, actor, headshot photographer, mommy, and lover of Dr. Pepper. Let's do this. Hi there, friends. It's me, Bree, and I'm riding solo today. Addison is currently recording a video for TikTok, so he doesn't get to be with us. What is the world? What's happening? I hope you all are staying safe out there, and, as things start to pick up, I feel like we've been kind of like at the calm before the storm for a few weeks now, and as things start picking up, in COVID cases and in theaters wanting to open up and all of that. I hope that, you feel empowered enough as an actor to advocate for yourself and to talk about what you're comfortable with and make sure that you speak up because this is an unprecedented time. So anyway, I am so excited about our episode today. We're going to be talking to Russell Carey, who is a longtime friend of mine. We actually met at the Playmill Theater doing summer stock like years ago, and he is just a wonderful human being. Brian plays 11 instruments, not including like singing, and then is an incredible dancer. So who knows how he's had time to do all of this, but he just has one of those brains that can pick up things. Oh, and I think he also speaks Spanish fluently. So there's that. What I really wanted to talk to him today about was the wonderful world of actor-musician shows. If you've seen any of these, the really famous one is Once, where the actors are actually the orchestra as well. Super, super fun to see an extension of the actor in not just their voice and what they're able to do with their body, but what they're able to do with their instrument as well. Yeah, I think there's August Rush is another one. I saw a production of Sunset Boulevard one time that everyone played their own instruments. It was on the West End in London. I know they just did a revival of Sweeney Todd with Patti LuPone, where everyone played an instrument. They're really beautiful pieces. It's incredible. He is also married to Joey Contreras, who is a beautiful human being and just a stunning modern composer. They both live in New York together. Yeah, Joey just makes songs that are so fun for the actor. He's a detailed storyteller, and his music is just stunning. So they both have this incredible background in composing music, and they know exactly what is on Broadway right now, what people are wanting to hear. It's really, really cool. So go and check out Joey. Go and check out Brian. They are just a powerhouse couple, just making it work in New York. But yeah, he's always collaborating with people, making music videos, and getting his music out there. It is amazing. Let's talk to Brian.
Hello,
Brian Russell Carey.
Hi.
Oh my gosh, I love hearing your voice.
You too.
You're just pure sunshine to my heart. It's true. Why don't you tell everyone where we met?
Oh my gosh. Well, we met in 2012, 2011, 2012. 2012 at the Playmill Theater in West Yellowstone, Montana.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And we had no idea what we were doing.
No, truly.
So it's kind of been cool to see what happened to our lives after this moment.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of crazy to think back. It was such a different time.
Yeah. We never would have thought that this is where we'd be.
No, for sure.
Yeah. It's kind of exciting though.
No, it is.
And dude, what a success story you are. I am just so proud of all that you've done. And for anyone who doesn't know Brian, he is a jack of all trades, mostly an incredible musician. How many instruments do you play?
Oh man, I probably play I think I say I play 13. That's what I do in shows, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And does that include your voice?
That does not include my voice. That would be an extra.
Incredible too,
Oh,
and that is an instrument. Amazing. So we're gonna make it 14.
We're gonna make it 14. Yeah.
Yeah. On top of being an incredible dancer as well. So I just admire how your brain works. Like, I don't understand how you are able to keep all of this in your brain. Have you always been this way?
I guess yes and no. I mean, I grew up just, in a very musical family. Like my parents, my brother, they all, play instruments and sing. We always did that growing up, and I was in orchestra like growing up as
Yeah.
a kid, but then I also was in choir and I also was in drama, and I remember like I I, I I was stressed in high school because I was like, man, everyone else is kind of like really focusing on what they wanted to do. Like these people who are in theater are like have been taking dance since they were 4, and and then the orchestra people, they've been like playing, and like that's only what they do. But I felt like I was like split between like many different worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I remember I kind of like went through this like process of like, I think I'm going to be a concert violist. Like that's what I'm going to do. And then that just like didn't feel right. And then I was like, I'm going to be a concert pianist. Oh, that doesn't feel right. And then I was like, you know what? I just want to do theater. So I was like, when I was a senior, I was like, hey, I'm doing theater. I'm auditioning for theater schools. Like that's what I'm doing.
Your senior year, that was your first experience in theater?
No, definitely not my first
Okay.
experience. I had been doing it, but I was
that's
like,
when you were like, I'm doing it.
yeah,
I'm
that's
committed.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've been doing it all through like, junior high and high school.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know if this is like what I want to focus on. And so then I told my mom, I was like, I think I don't want to play viola anymore. And
Wow.
I don't think I want to do orchestra. And she was like, I think you should continue doing that. I just like feel like you should. And I was like, okay, but I'm gonna focus on theater.
Fine, I'll juggle
I
it
know.
all, Mom.
And then it's just so ironic that like, so then I went to BYU. I did MDT at BYU, and then it's so ironic that since I've like left BYU, and now as a professional actor, like that most, if not all, of my work as an actor professionally has been some related to the fact that I play instruments as well,
Yeah.
which I like definitely could not have foreseen that when I was in high
Yeah.
school.
Well, and it's so unique to me. It takes such a special person to be in these kind of productions, to be able to juggle all the instruments and be able to act and sing and dance and play
Right.
a freaking instrument. It uses just so many different parts of your brain. So I
Yes.
really look up to you for that.
Oh,
Let's rewind just a tiny bit. I want to
mhm.
talk about how you got to New York.
Yeah.
And like what that journey looked like for you. You went to BYU,
Mhm.
graduated MDT, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And then what happened?
So then with my MDT graduating class, I went to New York and did a showcase. And my showcase, I actually like I didn't get an agent from my showcase. And that was a little like stressful.
Okay,
But
did in your showcase, did
mhm,
you play any instruments?
I
Did you
did.
do any of this? You did.
I did.
Okay, because I was wondering like how did you know when you were going through MDT that instruments were going to be such a big part of your life now?
Yeah,
Or did you think, "Oh, I'm an actor, musical theater, that's it."
I think both. I did
Yeah.
not. I could not have when I was graduating. And like hindsight's 2020. I wish I would have done my showcase differently. But I did play instruments, but I didn't showcase them the way that I should have.
Yeah.
And I just think that people just didn't. I mean, it's just such a being an actor musician is such a thing that is kind of unique to New York. Like it's definitely moving out into like regional markets, but even like back then when I was graduating, like that concept
It wasn't as big.
yeah, it still wasn't. I mean,
Yeah.
outside of New York was, and so I just don't think that myself, my professors, any of us really knew how to really market myself the best way.
Yeah, to show that. Yeah.
Right.
So what would you have changed now about that audition or that showcase?
Um, I think I would have. I was, when I was graduating. I think I was kind of trying to put myself into some boxes, and I wish I would have just realized that like me just doing exactly what I do as myself, like that would have, that would have been better, because I bring a very specific and unique set of skills and talents. And I think I was just trying to people please a little bit too much back then.
So it was like you were like acting too much.
Yeah. It was just I was trying to show. I think really what it was is I was trying to show lots of different sides of myself in a 3-minute showcase, which is just like impossible to do. Like you just can't. Yeah, you just can't. And so I wish I would have just not try to show in a way, like I wish I would have just kind of been myself more. Yeah.
Totally. What a cool lesson, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And like all of the pictures that I see you in these shows, I'm like, oh, that's Brian. Like, it's just you being you.
Yeah.
Which is so watchable, I don't think we give ourselves enough credit as human beings that we are, being our authentic selves, are watchable. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I interrupted you.
No.
Showcase, no agent there.
No agent there. And then I also was just completely non-union. Like I didn't have any EMC points. And I wasn't part of the union then. So I just kind of just got. I remember a moment where I was like my first month in the city. I had committed. I'd said I am moving to New York City no matter what. So I had already moved. I didn't have an agent, and I was like, all right, Brian, so this is the time. You're going to figure out how to do this. And that's kind of my personality anyways. Like I like to solve problems and fix things. And so I was like, so I was like, okay, so I'm going to figure out how to do this. So I went and took a bunch of classes with that first summer and just said, okay, how do I get in front of casting directors if I don't have an agent? How do I get auditions? How do I get seen? And so that first year, that first summer, I went to a ton of auditions, learned a ton of things. And then I think maybe 6 months after I had lived there, that fall, I had booked a few things. That fall. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then it kind of just took off from there. I think about a year later is when I got my equity card, and did a show. Yeah. I think it was a year later after that.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we talked about how you do so many shows where you act, you sing, you dance, and you play an instrument. Tell me about how those kinds of shows are different for you than like a regular musical theater show.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, they're completely the same. Like there's not much difference to them. Obviously there's the added component, so like music rehearsals are obviously, there's a huge, way higher emphasis on music rehearsals. Totally. So like, in a normal show, you might have music rehearsals for like 4 days, maybe, or like a week. And then like with your music director, and then then you're on your feet and you're doing it. But when when the actors are playing a lot of the music, obviously, music rehearsals typically are, I'd say for a show, like typically if you're like doing like a 9 to 5 rehearsal type situation, I think it's usually like 2 weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks to put up a show. And most of the Actor-Musician shows I've done have been at least 4, sometimes 5, depending, just because it needs that extra week just to like have the music all gel.
Totally. It's got to be so hard to memorize.
Yes, it is, because you literally have to memorize the entire show, the entire score, the entire score on top of lines and your singing part, and a lot of the shows I do too, we're switching instruments. So it's, I'm playing fiddle on this number and I'm playing upright bass on this, and then I'm playing piano on that. So yeah, it definitely, and then we're dancing too, and we're, and then there's choreography on top of that. So it's a thing. It's definitely a thing.
Well, I feel like it would be such a challenge, and I feel like you are the type of person that really appeals to. So I feel like it's such a great fit for you because it always keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, I mean, it is so satisfying, I would say, to be able to, play the music, and we literally are doing the job of two people. Like in a normal show, you'd have a pit, right? A pit orchestra.
Yeah.
And the tea is that sometimes we are definitely not paid what we're worth for that.
Sure.
I'm definitely not paid double for doing the work of two people, but that's a whole nother story.
Oh, totally.
But it's and so and with Actormusicians, just kind of on that note, it's the appeal. I mean, it is kind of getting done a lot more, and to be completely honest, like the appeal for a lot of theaters is that it's significantly cheaper for them to
Crazy.
produce a Actor-Musician show because they're not hiring
Both.
a band. Yeah, they're not hiring
Yeah.
bands. So it's like the costs are a lot lower. So
Oh, that's so weird.
It's so weird, and there's there's a big push right now in the union to change that, to make it to make the base pay a lot higher because we are doing double work. So.
Absolutely. Where do you think like the future of these shows is going to be? Because my first experience with a show like this was a production of Sunset Boulevard on the West End, and they all played instruments. It was pretty crazy. It works surprisingly well for shows that are not built for it. It actually kind of goes seamlessly. Like you'd kind of just get used to it, and you're like, oh, how cool. Something that I loved about watching it was that I felt like even just the instruments that were chosen for each actor, I mean, obviously they had to have some kind of experience in it as well, but I feel like playing an instrument and not just singing you were able to communicate so much about your character in kind of a different voice, if that makes sense. Do you feel like that's true, that you communicate through that music?
I mean, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like I think, did John Doyle direct that? I think he might have.
He might have.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure.
I mean, that's everything you're saying. I'm like, that was probably a John Doyle production.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so
and
huge.
He's one of just the pioneers of this.
Yes, definitely. I mean, he's huge on having the instrument be an extension of the character.
Cool.
And
yes,
and
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think there's like kind of two different, and I've done both types of. There's two different types of Actor-Musician shows. There's that where the instrument is an extension of the character, and then there's also shows where the characters themselves play instruments. Like I've done
something like Once, or
yeah, exactly, yeah. And Once could kind of be like
kind of both,
kind of Shadow Both Worlds, but like a show like Ring of Fire.
Yes,
where like Johnny Cash plays the guitar. So he has to, so the actor portraying him has to play the guitar. So yeah, it's like but I personally love seeing the shows and doing the shows where where the instrument is an extension of the voice of the character. I think I think you're right. It creates deeper insight.
Yeah, like I feel like there's I don't know. I mean, you have to suspend your belief just a tiny bit, but it's such a different flavor and texture that myself as an actor, I haven't been able to explore that ever. And I'm so intrigued and like jealous of it. I'm like, how cool to not just be able to use what's on your body and what's part of your physical self, but be able to use like an actual instrument with its own resonating chambers and everything.
Yeah, no, yeah, it is super unique, and
yeah,
I hope that it continues.
You say it's cheaper, and hopefully that changes, because that makes absolutely no sense to me. I didn't even realize that was a problem. But I mean, do you feel like these shows are so they're moving past? I saw it in London. I have seen it on tours, and I've seen it in New York. Do you feel like it has life to grow out and take over the world?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely. I mean, I have worked in the regional markets too. In Oregon and Kentucky and Wisconsin and Milwaukee, and a lot of the shows I've done there too have been Actor-Musician. So the audiences there are also responding to it really well. So I don't think that I don't foresee it stopping anytime soon.
No. I don't feel like it's a trend either.
No, I don't. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So cool. Okay. I want to talk about your personal life. We're going to get personal, Brian.
All right.
You also met your husband in New York?
Yes.
In New York? Yes, in New York. Tell me about how you and Joey met.
Well, so that kind of goes back a little bit. So my husband, Joey Contreras, he's a songwriter and composer and
Completely brilliant.
completely brilliant. Yes,
Yeah.
I first heard of him at BYU actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people were singing his music at BYU, and I remember
Totally.
I was like, "Who is this person?" And I became a fan like when I was in school, so I knew who he
Yeah.
was, I knew his music. And then cut to oh, actually, my first job that I got my equity card with. It was called Back Home Again. It was brand new a brand new show about well no a brand new show featuring the music of John Denver, not about John Denver at all, but it was an original story, but the music was John Denver's catalog. um,
Cool.
and we were rehearsing in New York, and then we did an out of town tryout essentially in San Francisco, and it's specifically in Walnut Creek, California, which is on the Bayside. And ironically, Joey is from Walnut Creek. Um,
Crazy.
yeah, like specifically Walnut Creek. And his best friend, Brad Greer, was in the cast with me. Um, and so we and so I met Brad kind of obviously through the show. Joey came out and saw the show because he was like, "Of course, my best friend's in the show. It's in Walnut Creek. I have to come."
Yeah.
So he went to California, and he came the same show that my parents and my brother and
Stop.
yeah, and my best friend Jack Shapiro,
Yes.
they all came.
Also a Play Mill alum.
Also a Playmill alum. They all came to the same performance of the show Back Home Again, and also Joey's mom.
How
Um,
fortuitous.
fortuitous. We were all in the same room and we didn't even know it. And but so we kind of met very, very in passing then.
So you met in California.
Well, kind of. That's why I say I
Yeah, it
like
was like
say
a passing.
it was like in passing. Like we didn't
Yeah.
really meet because that night Joey hung out with the entire cast that night, but I had family and friends in town, so I didn't. That was the one night I didn't hang out with the cast.
Oh,
Um,
and did you know who he was when you met?
of course, yeah,
Yes.
absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. So then we like got back to New York like maybe like 2 weeks later, and I had gotten back on Tinder,
Of
and
course.
maybe like the third person, I was just recently out of a relationship, and the third person was Joey, and
Oh my
so I
gosh.
was like, oh my gosh, so I swiped.
When he pops up on your Tinder,
I
you're
know,
like,
so
oh,
so I swiped right, and it was like, you matched with Joey.
stop it.
And so I immediately messaged him and was like, hey, we didn't get to hang out last week in San Francisco, like how's it going? And the rest is history.
Oh my
So it was
gosh.
kind of California, kind of New York, kind of Tinder.
Totally.
Yeah,
Like
kind of
a
BYU, to be
lot of
honest,
a
too.
lot of things were really just working to get you guys
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
Honestly.
yeah, and honestly, years of hearing people sing his music at BYU. So
Totally. I mean, music will make you fall in love immediately. Do you guys feel like music had a lot to do with your relationship? Has a lot to do?
yes, it definitely does. I mean, I always wanted. I mean, when I pictured my future spouse, I always wanted, to be with someone who made music and we can make music together. Which I don't
Wow.
think was something that he wanted or necessarily knew that he needed. And so, at the very beginning of our relationship, we didn't want to make it about that.
Yeah.
Like we wanted to see if, we could, what our relationship was outside of like a professional collaboration.
100%.
Um, and that seemed to work very well. But, now we collaborate
All the time.
all the time on everything.
Yeah.
I work on his stuff, he works on my stuff. And so it is pretty special.
That makes a lot of sense that you just kind of wanted to make sure that there was, like I said, music makes it really easy for people to fall in love
Mm-hmm.
and can be, I don't know, clouding sometimes, I guess, if you just
Yeah.
fall in love with the music or the ideas of the lyrics and that kind of thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it's cool that you guys made a conscious effort to make sure you loved each other as people.
Yes.
And then add that back in.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love that. So you're both performing, writing, collaborating together. How do you guys find balance?
That is something that, like is always kind of like is a just a journey, I would say.
Oh, absolutely.
It's we do definitely, because we do work together so much.
Yeah.
And even, I music direct some of his shows, so we are like working together sometimes all for hours on a day. So we see each other, but then we're seeing each other as collaborators and, like, like coworkers almost,
Yes.
and we do naturally have to bring that home sometimes, and we do have
Yes.
to do that at home, but we try not to make it so that it's like, hey, I don't want this to all be about work either, like
Yeah.
we need to be partners. Um and so I think, again, just making that a conscious effort, that it's like, okay, so we do have to work, so like we're gonna do that, and we can't just not we can't avoid that, and so,
Yeah.
but then we also have to say, okay, now we're gonna not work anymore,
And we're
and
gonna be
we're
people
yep,
and
and we're gonna be partners, and you're gonna be my husband, and that's that.
yeah, it's almost just knowing when to turn that off
Yes.
and how to communicate about it.
Yeah.
That resonates with me so much, as me and
Totally.
Addison work
Yeah.
from home so much. And just being able to put it down and just like have a conversation that has nothing to do with what we're working on. And it's hard.
It's hard. Yeah.
It's so hard because work can be addicting and it can be, exciting and something to do. But if you let it get in the way of your relationship, you're left with what are we now,
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
So interesting. Okay. As you've been out in New York, how many years has it been?
It has been 5 years. 5 years.
Crazy.
5 years. I know.
Brian, congratulations.
Thanks.
It's so huge. Do you guys see yourself there for what, like a while? Like, have you guys talked about timeline or if you'd ever want to move anywhere else?
Um, yeah, we're here indefinitely.
Yeah.
At this point, there's no reason to move. Both of our careers are here in New York City.
Yeah.
It's like we would consider moving to Los Angeles or
Sure.
Chicago. But at this point, like, a job would have to bring us to Los Angeles or Chicago.
Totally. Totally.
So it's like it doesn't make any sense for us to just start over in Los Angeles or Chicago,
Yeah.
or anywhere else for that matter. So yeah, no, we're here for the foreseeable future.
I love
And we'll see, we'll just kind of take
So
it.
I know that you do like audition coaching and that
hmm
kind of a thing. Tell me about like what a typical day looks like for you.
Typical day. I mean, it just kind of depends on the day. I mean, so I, would go on auditions. I mean, so I have an agent now. I didn't have an agent when I first got to New York, but I have an agent now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, my agent will give me appointments. And so I will, go do those, or, or if there are any open calls, EPAs type things. So I'll do that. I'm on faculty at AMDA and at Cap 21, which is Malloy
Oh,
College.
cool.
Yeah, and so
Do you do that virtually or do you go in?
go in. Currently in the coronavirus
Yes.
time, I'm doing a lot more of that virtually, but
Absolutely.
in a normal day, yeah. So be going in. So I do that, and then I also teach from home. I have my home studio, which I do like my own private coaching.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of like an average day, I would say. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm.
Do you have like a dream project you would want to work on? Like
A
what would be,
dream project.
I don't know, like you've done the like so many different types of thing, like music directing and acting and
Mm.
the actor musician stuff. Do you have a preference on what you do?
I don't have a preference. It is something that I've kind of not struggled with, but because I do have a career as a actor, and then I also have a career as a music director. Like, I'm a music director for Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, so I'm on their production, team, and then I
Yeah.
also, music direct a lot with Joey and Open Jar Studios, and so I do kind of have like two careers, and there's a part of me that's like, sometimes I wonder if I just like focused on one, like what that like really really focused on one, like what that would do. But
Sure.
the truth is that I do love doing both, and so I've kind of decided that, in this day and age, you can be a director and a playwright and an actor, and
Yeah.
I can be a music director and an actor and also write as well. And so at this time it's kind of like I take the jobs as they come, and if there's things that are obviously conflict with one another, like if I got an acting job and a music directing job that would directly conflict, I would have to kind of look
Yeah.
at that.
Sure.
So I don't know about like a dream job. I mean, obviously, you know if when Joey's shows go to Broadway, I would love to be, obviously involved with that, because that would be a
Totally.
dream.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that would
Oh,
be
that's so cool.
dream job.
Yeah, I know. I feel like as a creative person, um, I think there was a time when I was thinking of making a business card, this probably like 5 years ago, and it would have had like 20 jobs on it.
Oh,
I'm not lying.
yeah.
I mean, literally, I could have said within a week's time that I got paid by 20 different venues
Yes,
of
that's so
things.
real. That's
You
so
know what I
real.
mean?
Yes, I
And
do.
be through whittling it down and being able to see what is more successful and what I enjoy more and what fits into my lifestyle more, I'm able to whittle those things down. And now I'm at like maybe 3, and that's a really good balance for me,
Yes.
because I do think I'm very ambitious and get antsy with my creativity. And if one thing, we have so little control as an actor of what projects we're working on and when we'll
Totally.
get cast and when we, what kind of a show. And so I think being able to have something that I have total control over, like photography, makes up for the times as an actor when I have to totally give up creative control and just
Right.
be what they need me to be.
Right. Yes.
So yeah, I think it's interesting. Our needs are just different, and they grow as we get older
Mm-hmm.
and we figure out what we want more.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Okay, for anyone who wants to move out to New York, what would you say to them? Do you have any advice, any tips?
Yeah, I mean, I would say New York City is not it's not as scary as people think it is. I
Yeah.
mean, is it a hard city? Yes, it is. But I think sometimes people think um it's just like any other city. Like if you live in Salt Lake City, then you first have to find a place to live, right? And then you
Yeah.
have to get a job to pay your bills, and that's what you do.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with New York City, right? It's you find a place to live, and then you find a way to you get a job. And I think people think like, oh, it's hard to get a job in New York City, and like it is, but also there's also so much work to be had and
Yeah.
to do. I think it's like the difference is you're taking the subway instead of like driving your car, to to work.
Totally.
But I don't think it is as scary as people think it is.
Yeah.
And so if you're considering taking the leap, I would say just take the leap with both feet in. I think people who kind of like dip their toes in for a little bit, New York definitely gives you reasons not to live there. Just
Sure.
because, there's a lot of people and everything. But, if you're going to do it, then yeah, just do it. Do it with both feet in. And it's not, it's not as scary a place. I obviously love it. And that being said, it's not for everybody. And that is
Yeah.
also okay. Um, and if it's not for you, then it's not for you. But yeah, I mean, it's a great place to live. There's so much happening, and if that excites you, and if that's something that you are drawn to, then then jump in with 2 feet.
Yeah. Yeah. Commit.
Commit. Yeah, exactly. Commit to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I think that's the hardest thing, is that our brains, when it knows it's short term, really can find ways to make it okay that it's short term,
Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah, it's exactly it. And and if you're an actor or if you're a creative and that's what you want, that's where you're moving to New York to do, to be an actor. I mean, the reality is that it does take time. I mean, you have
Yeah.
to start developing relationships with casting directors. And so if you're at a place, at a different regional area market where you were getting cast a lot, it might be because you've lived there for a long time and the directors know you, but
Totally.
now you're starting over, and that's okay. But just know that that's going to take time. That like doesn't happen overnight for 99% of people,
Totally.
like those stories do happen, but it's like you're probably not going to book a Broadway show your first month in the city.
What?
Yeah, you're probably not going to do that.
No.
I know.
Oh.
But
No, it's true. Have expectations. Or no
exactly.
expectations.
Yeah.
Have
But
the right
have the
expectations.
right, no, that's exactly right. Have the right expectations about it, where yeah, it's gonna be time, and it's gonna take time to develop those relationships, and
Yeah.
have them get to know you and get to know your craft and get to know what you're good at.
I love that. Okay, so you've had this unique opportunity to be on both sides of the audition table as a music director, as an actor. Can you give us some insight about what you've learned that casting directors are looking for?
Yeah, no, I think I do. I mean, I think I do have a unique perspective just because I am doing both. I I I mean, people say it all the time, but it is quite shocking, how the energy that people bring into the rooms.
Yeah.
Casting directors just want you to be chill. Like, it's not a high stakes. If it feels high stakes, then we're gonna sense it, and more often than not. And I cast things with for Joey. We cast things together, and it's we just want to hang with cool people.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
that's what it is. It's like there are so many people who are so talented in New York and everywhere, but it's just we want to hang with cool people, and we want, we look for, I mean, we look for the little red flags, and I think those red flags are having bringing in stressful energy, or of like,
Sure.
please cast me energy, and you know um sometimes people that come in and they have their heels and they have their dress and their hair is perfectly curled, like that's like almost a turn off,
Yeah.
because it's like we want to just see, we want to see you, we want to see you,
Yeah.
we want it to feel like I mean, I've heard casting directors say this many times, that it's like, we wanted it just to feel like you just like rolled in off the street and you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go to this audition today. So I'm wearing my jeans, I'm wearing my shirt, and yeah, I'm gonna sing for you because
I love that.
why not? It's like that kind of,
Yeah.
and not like a lazy energy, but it's the energy of like, not like, I woke up at 4 a.m. and I did my hair and I did my dress so that I can show
Totally.
you how prepared I am. Like, that energy
Totally.
is such a turn off.
Well, and it I don't know, it displays such a confidence about you when you don't have to put on all these airs and they're walls,
Their
really. I
walls,
mean,
yes, 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 yes.
that doesn't allow you to see what they would be like to work with on week 8 of your show, you know?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, because it's, if you're casting a open run of a show, then yeah, it's like, I could be potentially be working with this person for years.
Yes.
So it's like, I just want someone that I can chill with, and that I can, that we can be cool.
Well, and like when we talked about your showcase,
Hmm.
I love that you're talking about there's so much talent in the world, and that, maybe it's not necessarily about who can belt the highest and who can play the most instruments and who can do all this. It's about who can be confident enough to show me their true self and know that that's enough.
Yes, definitely. I mean, 100%. I think, and also, as you're saying that, the other thing that just is so important, and I don't think people stress this enough, is just be kind too. I mean, it's like, you hear people say that, but man, it goes around. Like, if you are difficult to work with, everyone will know that, know it,
Absolutely.
and just be kind, and be kind, because yeah, can it gets back. It gets back to
Yeah.
casting directors. It gets back to people.
Well,
Yeah.
and there's nothing you can do to fix that. If you're just a mean person, it's not like, oh, well, they were just having a mean week. You're like, no, 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 they're just a
they're
mean
just
person.
they're
Like,
just mean. Yeah.
how do you fix that?
Yeah. No, it's true.
Whereas, I don't know, there's other things in the skill set and things that you need to do for the show that you can work on.
Mm-hmm.
But just being an awesome person, that's something you just have to come in with.
Yeah. Going back though, what you were saying about like just like belting high and playing all the instruments. Yeah. I mean, I think that is also true. I mean, sometimes when you have your 16 bar cut, or sometimes they ask for 8 bar cuts, which is horrible. But
It's horrific.
But like we don't want to hear. We're smart, so it's like I can tell that you can belt. Like I don't need to hear you sing your high E. Like we're usually pretty smart. So like we can look at your resume and see, oh wow, she's played these roles. Great. I'm going to very much assume she has this level of training. I'm going to expect her to be able to do that. And so we will call you back, and then we'll hear if you can belt the high E. You know what I mean? But in your 8 bars, we just want to see you. We want to see story, and we want to see storytelling. So it's like, I can tell, I can hear from your tone. I can tell, and it is really real that when you're sitting there from 10 to 6 in a room, and you hear 300 girls come in and give you high belting, like that truly gets old so fast. And the sad part is that a lot of these girls are so good. But it doesn't change the fact that I have heard 100 girls already before you do it. And so it's like, even if you're so fierce, it's like, I'm a human, and it's like, you know what I mean? And so it's so just be real, be yourself, and trust that we know, like we can tell.
Like, I think it's like, I don't know, we don't need to be impressed, we just need to connect.
Exactly.
Because if you can connect with someone, then all the rest doesn't matter. That's what an audience comes to do too.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's 100% it.
I love that. And that I mean, that's so much pressure off, I think.
Yes.
Of being like, oh, my body has to be able to do this on command,
Right.
And just say, no, can I tell a story today? Yeah, I can.
Right. We're so trained as actors to be the yes and, where it's like, can you do this? Yes, I can. Like, you always say yes. Don't ever say no.
Of course. Do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Like with my clothes on, with my clothes off?
Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're ridiculously accommodating.
Ridiculously. Yeah, I know. But yeah, just exactly what you said, where it's like, no, I can tell this story. I can be this person today.
Yeah, because that's what's truly unique, I would think.
Yeah, no.
How cool.
Exactly.
I love it. Any other like nuggets of gold you want to hand us?
Nuggets.
This is awesome.
I mean, I do think I tell people this when I teach workshops or whatever, that I do think that there is space at the table for everybody. I think that wasn't always the case. I do think we're moving in that direction.
That's awesome.
I even feel like when I was in school that sometimes my professors didn't know quite what to do with me, because it was like, you have this really rich kind of folky country voice, but it doesn't quite like how I see you is that you should be a high tenor, XYZ. And I remember this, I kind of had a really special moment when I booked this Red Roses Green Gold show, which was, a brand new show. So a role that had never been done before, and I got to originate it. And just thinking, wow, this role is exactly me. Like, I think that I'm like, not and sound this in a cocky way, but like, I think I was the only person in New York City that could have done this specific role. And and I was like, wow, that is, there is space at the table, and I don't have to fit a box, because look, this box was made for me. Like, I am the box for this. You know what I mean?
I am the box. I'm gonna make a t-shirt.
But do you know what I mean? It was like, I was like, I didn't have to fit a box for this, because the box wasn't even made yet. So
yes.
I think that that's so like encouraging and comforting to people.
Totally.
Because I remember I was stressed so much in school, just being like, wow, I don't fit this box. I'm not this box. And like, how frustrating that was. But just being like, maybe the box hasn't been made yet, Brian, and like,
yeah, and you're gonna make it,
and I'm gonna make it, and
you're gonna be the box.
Yeah, and so I think that the industry is just continuing to move that way. So it's
and
like,
I can't wait for that to make its way across to Utah.
Yes.
I do think that it will originate in New York and is originating in New York.
Yes.
As, you know,
I did feel,
I visited in the fall, and I felt like even just the casting that I saw, I was like, oh yeah, like why not? Why not? Why aren't these people the leads? And why, you know? And it was so cool to see that open-mindedness in casting. And I don't know if Utah is totally there yet.
No,
I think some companies are and some companies aren't, and that's just going to be how it is until generations change.
No, I mean, you are right, because I also felt that auditioning in Utah too. And then
a little bit,
no, definitely, I definitely did.
And it's just been the industry standard for so long,
right?
And I think material is being written so differently now, where it doesn't have to be certain types of people, certain genders, anything. It's written so much more open and honest and real to our time.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's, and also the fact, and this is just a reality too, is that in Utah, comparatively to New York, there are just way less auditions to be had, right?
Yes.
As for theater specifically. And so I remember sometimes when I was in Utah, I would be like, okay, so I would stress out because I was like, I only have, you know, a certain number of auditions in a year for viable, like, paying jobs that I can do.
Yes.
But in New York, you know, I auditioned for, you know, 6, 7, 8 things a week. So it's like, so there's also just the reality that there's just, you know, just more jobs.
Less jobs.
Yeah, less jobs and more, and
more jobs.
Yeah, you get it. Yeah. But that all being said, coming back to that, is just that yes, you're totally right. It is changing, and I think that's so needed and beautiful.
It's exciting. I don't know. It makes me excited because I feel like roles are just being written better too. They're more multifaceted. They're more interesting people. They're more real. And I think that any type of person can play any type of thing as long as it's authentic and real to them.
Yeah, I agree.
I love that. Thank you so much. I want to know how we can follow along on your adventures. If you have some Instagram to drop me or a website.
I mean, yes, you can follow me on Instagram at Brian R. Carey. And then my website is my full name, BrianRussellCarey.com. Yeah.
So hit him up if you need some audition coaching, if you want to collaborate on some music.
Yes, please.
I love it. Oh, thank you so much for coming on today, Brian.
Oh, thank you.
I really just admire everything that you're doing, and I'm just so proud of you.
Oh, thanks. I just love you so much.
I love you too.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to the Pepper Fox Podcast. Love what you heard today? Go ahead, share it with your friends, and leave us a review. Get more actor tips and resources by visiting pepperfoxphoto.com and check us out on Instagram at pepperfoxphoto.